What's going on, Madden World? So I'm gonna bring this roster update to you guys. Actually, it's not a roster update; it's a depth chart update. I had a subscriber ask me why I have the players in positions that I have them, and I'm gonna go ahead and break this down for you guys so I could kind of explain why I set up the Saints the way I set them up. Um, I had some confliction with certain positions, but pretty much, awareness tops a lot of different things. So first of all, we know Drew Brees. That's what it is. But when you're thinking about quarterback, awareness is pretty good for me. I mean, even though I know you're controlling that person, but believe it or not, the computer, if the higher the awareness, the more accurate your throws are going to be. Is going to be better placement. It's a lot of little things the CPU assists you on, even though you're controlling the player. You also want to make sure you got good throw power. Anything above 9 and above is good. Short accuracy. To me, anything above 85 when it comes to all these different ones is awesome. When it comes to deep throw, I think 80 is pretty good. It is pretty adequate on them getting the ball downfield and putting it where they need to put it. Running back is about speed. Anything above 88 is awesome, but you also want to make sure they got good acceleration, so when they do get the ball, they can just accelerate to what they need to get the place where they're trying to get to. You also want to make sure they got good trucking. I think elusiveness plays a big factor because you could zigzag really well with the higher the elusiveness of a player. When you start talking about carry, as long as they got pretty good carry rating, you want to make sure you're running back a catch and he can route run. Those are huge, but you also want, like, if you decide to keep your guy in, you want to make sure that they can pass block. That is a big thing too. The higher pass block is good. So now we want to talk about fullbacks. You want to have a fullback with at least 80 and above speed. Some decent strength to hold off outside linebackers. The reason why I say speed is a big thing is because when, say for instance, they're doing like a counter, most cases, if your fullback is not fast, he's going to take his time to get to where he needs to get to. So that speed and acceleration, he's just going to hurry up and explode to the blocker, which is going to bust you out for longer runs. Awareness plays a big part in that too, but to the most part, hey, it is what it is. But you also want your fullback to have a good trucking, at least 80 and above, good catch, and route running. Those two things plays a big factor. And you also want to make sure he can run block. I think the biggest thing for a fullback is you need to at least have a 75 and above run block. 70, well, I'll give it 70. Maybe 65, but let's just say 70. I'm going to put it at 70 because I think 70 is like awesome. Wide receiver is all about the speed. With taller receivers, I mean 88 and above to me is pretty good with taller receivers. But when you start talking about those 5'10 and shorter guys and 5'11 guys, 6 feet, they need to have speed. Speed and acceleration is awesome. Awareness, if you could get that with a receiver, that will help it out as well. You want to make sure that they can catch. The route running, I want to say at least 80 and above route running will help you guys. I'm telling you, because they'll be going against like low end cornerbacks, and if they route running is not good, them cornerbacks are gonna be sticking with them. Catching traffic, you already know. If you're throwing in tight places, they need to be able to hold on to the ball. And the Saints got really good wide receivers. Spec catch, you already know, going up and get the ball in the red zone is huge. I think the Saints got a pretty good team for that. Tight ends to me is just like a fullback. Like I said, you want to make sure you have decent enough speed, but you want to make sure they got strength. Strength is a big thing. Awareness to be able to know who you're blocking when it's time for running is a big thing. You want to make sure they could catch. They got good route running. Pretty good catching traffic and good spec catch, and who can jump. Those are big things. Now, what I will say, just like the fullback, they also need to be able to, run block. There's only a couple of people on my team that can actually run block pretty decently. So I normally put Phillips as the number 2 guy because of that. his blocking, and when you come with a lot of two tight end sets, he's the one that's going to be outside setting the edge. He got pretty good strength. So, I kind of interchange those two guys out. When it comes to offensive linemen, I will talk about offensive tackles. You need to make sure you got guys with strength. Just like on a defensive line, you want to make sure your offensive line got height, weight, and strength. That plays in a huge factor. A huge, huge factor along with awareness. Because keep in mind, you can't control those guys. So basically, the CPU is controlling those guys. So the awareness, the height, weight, strength, those things plays in a big factor. People also look at the run blocking and pass blocking and maybe the impact block. Those are very huge too. I mean, of course. But like you see, the Saints, they're not really good at run blocking, but they're pretty good at pass blocking. Impact block is only for the initial contact. So say for instance, the higher the impact block, if somebody's pulling or they touch a linebacker or they hit a cornerback, they're going to blow them up. So basically that's what impact block is. But when it comes to guards, strength, height, weight, and strength plays, I think the best combination that you could have is height, weight, and strength. 6'7", over 320 pounds for guards is like a monster. And as long as they got the strength with it, you can run the ball. And I know it's gonna sound crazy, but I done seen guys that don't even have good run blocking ability, but they just big and strong and they still get the job done. And like you see, the Saints, I mean, I could have put this guy right here. I mean, but I didn't want to. When you look at the height, he plays better. So Unger, that's self-explanatory, is the same thing as the guard. You want height, weight, height, weight, strength, but make sure the other attributes, the run blocking and the pass blocking, is there. Right tackle, like I said, when it comes to the right tackle, he needs to be tall. He needs to be strong. The same thing when it comes to, like I was saying, a little bit of a combination of the guard and your left tackle. A little bit left tackle is going to be a little bit more agile. But it doesn't really matter as long as they got the awareness. Awareness is huge on the offensive line because when you start talking about guys sending blitzes and they sending all these things, keep in mind the awareness will recognize it because the CPU is controlling those guys. Now, defensive line. My defensive ends on the left side needs to have speed, always strength. Strength is a huge factor when you start talking about defensive line and acceleration and awareness. The biggest thing for me is stopping the run. So these attributes you need to make sure these guys got. And that is the power move, finesse move, or block shed to go along with the strength and the speed. You need to have somebody who can stop the run, which is the power move. If he don't have a high finesse move, he need to have a high block shedding and high power move because he is going to stop the run along with his strength. All right. Same thing is right in. I put Rankins right there because when you start talking about, hey, he's not fast, but he got 80s in all these other categories. He still got an 86 strength, which is pretty good because he's going up against a tackle. Remember, most guys like strong offensive linemen, so you need to have strong defensive linemen. His awareness not as high, but guess what? Hey, let me show you what helps out with that. When you start having a guy that got good power moves, a good decent finesse move, but his block shedding, remember, you need to have at least block shedding needs to be over 80. But if he got high in one of these areas, along with the block shed, it's going to be awesome. Now, his pursuit has to be in the 80s, and his play recognition is the same as his awareness. So the higher the awareness, the higher his play recognition to go along with these other attributes. So it helps out dramatically. I put Nick Fairley. I took him from the defensive end spot because he didn't have high enough acceleration, so I kept him at a defensive tackle spot. Now, the defensive tackle spot, you want to make sure you got strength. Strength and acceleration and awareness. I got Onyemata right here because this dude is a little monster, man. I mean, he's a little monster. If he had any type of awareness, he would be my starter. This guy, when you look at his attributes, when you start talking about stopping the run and his block shedding, like I said, look at that. He got 83, 70, and 78. Like I said, if his awareness is high, he'd be better than Nick Fairley. But these two things right here to go along with his pursuit, which is an 80, and his play recognition, which is not high because of his awareness, it pans out for a backup defensive tackle. Outside linebackers. I want speed at the left outside linebacker along with strength. This, even though the right outside linebacker, I want speed, strength, acceleration, but I want somebody who's pretty smart. I also look for somebody who can catch the ball, who got pretty good jumping ability. To get in, you know, I guess you could say if you're trying to like do interceptions or whatever, you know, you want somebody, you know, who could jump and get balls and, you know, at least play man-to-man if you want to play man-to-man with your linebackers. You want somebody with some speed. Another attribute is like, you know, of course, tackling and hit by power for your outside linebacker. But I like somebody who can stop the run. Like I said, 74 is pretty decent. Finesse move not great. His block shedding not great. But he makes up for that with his pursuit and his play recognition. Those two things is pretty good. That helps him out. I mean, I got guys on the bench that's better. But to me, the speed kills. Middle linebackers, I like guys who's, you know, got pretty good speed, good acceleration, but they have great awareness. Remember, a lot of times, you know, if you're playing on a safety, you need people who's smart in the game. And it makes a big difference when they can shoot gaps and do the things they need to do. I also like guys who can catch. Even though Ellaby is not great at catching, he's okay. I like guys who could jump. To me, they ain't really good, but they gonna do the job. But you want guys who could tackle, who got pretty decent hit power. I'm not really worried about them stopping the run, but I really do care about block shedding. And like I said, Ellaby, that's why I took him off the edge and put him at middle to protect him in a little bit of instance because of his smarts. But pursuit is a big thing when you send in blitzes like with your linebackers. That pursuit and play recognition, you see that. That's in the 80s. So they're going to get the job done. Right outside linebacker is the same as left outside linebacker. I put Stupar there because of his smarts. He got pretty good speed, acceleration. He can pretty much jump. I mean, when you start talking about his tackle, he ain't got good hit power, decent power moves, but his block shedding is a 79 in his pursuit. So those things in his play recognition, like I said, those three things make up for all that other stuff because they get off their blocks and they know where things is at. Cornerbacks, you need speed, but this is the big one right here. Acceleration. Your guy can't get beat if he got over 90 catching. He can't. He can't get beat deep. I mean, awareness plays a big factor when you start talking about the zones, but you notice in my videos you rarely see Ken Crawley get beat deep. You might see Delvin Breaux get beat deep because his acceleration of getting back on faster receivers is not there. So another thing, of course, you know, is the obvious. You want to make sure they could jump pretty good, but you also want to make sure you got good play recognition. But man coverage and zone coverage is, of course, in the press. I mean, unless you're playing a lot of man press, really. I don't really play a lot of man, so I don't really care about that. But the zone and the man is huge for your defensive back. But that acceleration is a big must. Free safety, I was conflicted between Banjo and Bird. Banjo got everything except awareness. And the awareness in the safety spot is huge. But if you're using that safety, I would have picked Banjo because you basically controlling him. Banjo got jumping, but that big thing you want guys who can catch, and he can catch. That's why you see Bird get a lot of interception because of the awareness and his catching. Jumping is awesome. When you start talking about, you want to make sure they got good pursuit. The play recognition is high, like I said. But the zone coverage needs to be high. But look at that, Banjo is pretty good. If I had to choose it, I'm gonna probably put Bell back, and then when I get to my free safety, I'm gonna put Banjo. Now, so the same thing with Vaccaro. You got the speed, acceleration, awareness. You start talking about the catching. You got good catching, good jumping. You start talking about tackling and hit power. You want that for your strong safety. Somebody who could pretty much have pretty good block shedding. The pursuit is pretty high. Even though you see me change Bell, the pursuit is pretty high. The play recognition, and that's why I had Bell there, because of that play recognition. But the man coverage and the zone coverage, I think that's why I put him there, because of that. But the play recognition part, I think that's why I'm gonna go with Bell and put Banjo back at the free safety spot. Now the Saints got other players that I want to say is pretty good. I mean, third down running back. I mean, you just want the guys who can catch, who got good elusiveness and stuff like that. When you start talking about the kick return and punt return, I mean, you want guys with speed. It's all about speed and elusiveness. That's what I think can help out the most, is the speed and the elusiveness of a player. And like I said, I gotta put Murphy back in there. There's a reason. I think I put Webb, but like I said, we got guys in there right now. So I think for the most part, that's how I'm gonna set up my roster. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you got any suggestions, go ahead and feel free and leave me a comment. But hey, try this out and see what happens, and let me know. All right, peace.